Hello everybody, my name is King Kuato. Hope you're having an amazing day. Of course, today we're here with a Mortal Kombat 1 deep dive analysis into the bios of all of the known fighters for Mortal Kombat 1. Specifically, I want to focus on 3 people in the known roster as of right now. And of course, this is the official MK1 page. You guys can go check it out. Link in the description below. Today, I want to take a look at specifically Sub-Zero's, Scorpion's, and Smoke's, a long hoped and returning character from Mortal Kombat 1. If you guys are new, consider subscribing as I do post content like this daily. I have some concerns about this roster, specifically those 3, because Scorpion may not be who you think he is. He has always been Hanzo Hasashi, that was his name, and of course he rivaled Bi-Han as Sub-Zero, and later on Kuai Liang, which is Sub-Zero's younger brother. However, in this new timeline, they are both part of Lin Kuei, which means there is a chance that Scorpion isn't Hanzo Hasashi, but we'll get to that in a second. I'm gonna go in chronological order, right? I do want to take a look at a lot of these characters that are returning, and we're gonna start off with Fire God Liu Kang. Having won control of the Hourglass, Liu Kang restarted history. He neutralized the threats and dangers that had come before, crafting a new era in which all beings would have the opportunity to find peace. But that peace is now threatened by an enemy that Liu Kang could never have anticipated. It will take all of his wisdom and experience to save not only Earthrealm, but all of reality. Now, I think this is probably the biggest central idea in the entire game. Obviously, the lore is going to be basing around Liu Kang's collection of different fighters from multiple realms, hopefully in the chance to stop whatever threat is looming. I think the biggest thing is in this bottom part. It says that it's threatened by an enemy that Liu Kang could never have anticipated. Now, obviously, he interacts with multiple fighters throughout the entirety of the trailer. I don't think that it's going to be a lot of these fighters. I don't think the main enemy, the main villain, has been revealed yet, just because the way he interacts with people in the trailer, and he interacts with a lot of these people in the roster, it shows that he's already collecting the fighters by the time he meets them, hopefully to stop the villain, right? So I feel like that just kind of alludes to the fact that it's a predetermined villain. A lot of people are thinking that it's going to be one of the returning big bads. Now, although it's only a rumor as of right now and pure speculation, people are saying that Shao Kahn is going to be a general of Outworld as opposed to its ruler. Now, if you guys are familiar with the Mortal Kombat lore, in the past, Onaga was the previous Dragon King of Outworld, right? And which meant that Shao Kahn was his underling and eventually took over the throne as the ruler himself. But Onaga could be returning, and it makes sense because Natara, which is one of Onaga's forces, is actually rumored to be in the final roster of the game. Now, I'm assuming Onaga being introduced into the Mortal Kombat 1 story would be a pretty crazy and not expected villain. Although, I don't know if that's exactly what they mean, right? I feel like the way that this is worded, it kind of alludes to the fact that a previous ally could be the new villain, right? I think Onaga would be pretty surprising. I don't think we've gotten him since Deception, which is actually crazy. It's been a very long time. And I think his reintroduction into the story would be insane. There is also one mirror match quote from Liu Kang. They actually bring up the fact that Onaga is a threat and, of course, the ruler of Outworld in one universe or another.
Does Onaga exist in your timeline? Exist in it. He rules it.
Continuing on, we want to go to Sub-Zero. As Lin Kuei's Grand Master, Sub-Zero leads his ancient warrior clan in the defense of Earthrealm from external threats. For centuries, it has been their solemn task. But Earthrealm hasn't been threatened in generations, and Sub-Zero sees no point in limiting his clan to preparing for dangers that may never come. Under his leadership, the Lin Kuei will come out of the shadows and fight for its place as one of Earthrealm's great nations. Now, the interesting thing about this is throughout the final trailer of the Lin Kuei that we got a couple of days ago, we actually saw that Sub-Zero's whole plan is he wants to kind of rule Earthrealm. He says for many generations, and it actually seems like it was their tradition throughout the Lin Kuei's history in this universe, that Sub-Zero has always protected Earthrealm with the Lin Kuei. That has always been their solemn task, right? But it appears that Sub-Zero actually wants to take up the power himself and the Lin Kuei, hopefully to become the rulers of Earthrealm. Now, obviously, his new brother Scorpion doesn't like that idea. I feel like there's going to be a power dynamic, and depending on who Scorpion is going to be in this timeline, I believe that may lead to Sub-Zero's death. I believe this Sub-Zero is going to be Bihan, which is, you know, the first Sub-Zero, I guess you could say, which eventually becomes Noob Saibot, and then Kuai Liang, Sub-Zero's younger brother, eventually becomes Sub-Zero. Now, in the older games, the main plot is Scorpion is Shirai Ryu, which is the rival clan. He's kind of just doing his own thing. Sub-Zero eventually gets, you know, swayed on. In some versions, it's different, right? But majority of the time, Quan Chi, the #1 instigator in Mortal Kombat, tells Sub-Zero basically, you know, go kill Scorpion. Scorpion and his entire clan essentially gets wiped out by Sub-Zero and the Lin Kuei. Scorpion gets returned as a revenant because of Quan Chi, the #1 instigator, in which Quan Chi tells Scorpion, hey, Sub-Zero killed your entire family, go get your get back. He goes to kill Sub-Zero, which is Bihan at that time. He kills Sub-Zero successfully. Kuai Liang, the younger brother of Sub-Zero, returns as Sub-Zero and becomes Sub-Zero and hopes to kill Scorpion to avenge his fallen brother. It is a classic time loop of revenge and vengeance throughout the story, and I think it's going to be completely different in this story, but I do think there's going to be main plot points that are kept. Continuing on with Scorpion, revered Lin Kuei warrior. As I said, he's usually Shirai Ryu, but in this timeline he is Lin Kuei, which is our first hint of who he could possibly be. Like his cherished father, Scorpion is dedicated to the Lin Kuei and its defense of Earthrealm. When his father died, Scorpion was bereft, though he took pride in knowing that his brother, Sub-Zero, would succeed their father as the Lin Kuei's Grand Master. But Sub-Zero's unprecedented moves to cast off the Lin Kuei's traditional duties have frozen Scorpion's enthusiasm. He fears that he may one day have to battle his brother for control of the Lin Kuei's legacy. Now, obviously, they wouldn't throw that in the bio if it didn't mean something. He may one day have to battle his brother for control of the Lin Kuei's legacy. Now, in the Lin Kuei trailer, it actually shows that Scorpion takes a liking to Smoke. Although they're not official blood brothers, he considers them brothers by bond, right? And the way that it frames it, it definitely seems that Scorpion disagrees with Sub-Zero, and he's going to want to either overthrow or just stop entirely Sub-Zero's plan to kind of rule Earthrealm. So what I'm gonna assume is happening, and I'm throwing this, you know, right out into the open for you guys to just subscribe to, right? The idea that I think in this new timeline, Scorpion is Kuai Liang, which is usually Sub-Zero's younger brother. Now, obviously, right here, it actually says that his brother was the rightful heir to, like, the Lin Kuei's Grandmaster status. And in tradition, in clans, in dynasties, in empires, majority of the time, that will go to the next rightful blood heir, right? Which means Sub-Zero is probably older than Scorpion. I'm just gonna take a wild guess and throw that out there, right? Because of that, I'm assuming that they are brothers. Sub-Zero is the older brother, Bihan, and Scorpion's the younger brother, Kuai Liang, right? Now, the interesting thing about this is Smoke is considered to be the, you know, a brother to Scorpion, but Sub-Zero looks like he kind of disagrees with that altogether. Because of this, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that Smoke in this timeline is Hanzo Hasashi, which would be pretty crazy. It's gonna be like the craziest, you know, kind of twist that we've seen in a very long time as far as just lore goes, just right off the bat, not including what's going to actually happen. I think in this timeline, Hanzo Hasashi is going to be Smoke. I think him and Scorpion in this timeline, or Kuai Liang, are going to have a bond and kind of, you know, try to overthrow the brothers Sub-Zero. And I think maybe at some point one of these two are going to die, which means Smoke, Hanzo Hasashi, might take up the mantle of Scorpion if Kuai Liang dies, or if Bihan dies. You know, I think Scorpion might take, or Kuai Liang might take up the role as Sub-Zero, and maybe Smoke could fill in as Scorpion, right? I don't think Scorpion and Sub-Zero are people that can be ignored from the Mortal Kombat timeline, right? Obviously, they're one of the original fighters in the game, but more importantly, as far as the lore goes, the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei are pretty central to the entirety of Earthrealm's defense, or, you know, the rivalry that they've always had. And I don't think that's going to be overwritten. So I definitely think that Smoke is a character that can be kind of messed with, you know. Hanzo Hasashi is pretty vital to the story as well. I think him, Kuai Liang, and Bihan have always been central characters. So I don't think that they're going to throw any of them out altogether. I do think all three of them will be in the new story. And we're just going to have to wait and see who's who in this story. I think it's safe to say that this is probably going to be Bihan. But you know, whether this is Kuai Liang, whether Smoke is going to be Hanzo Hasashi, we're gonna have to wait and see, right? That's my personal theory. Y'all can leave your comments down below. Let me know how you guys feel about that. What do you guys think? Who do you think who's who? And let's keep moving forward. Now, the new princess of Outworld is Kitana. Of course, that's how it usually is. Kitana has one purpose in life: to aid and protect her older sister Mileena as she prepares to rule Outworld one day. The steady-handed Kitana ignores the calls of those who advocate that she should replace her impulsive sister as heir. Instead, Kitana will defend the realm by fighting to make Mileena the best empress possible. She will also fight to hide the dark secret that could end her sister's reign before it begins, which is of course the Tarkat disease, which we'll get to with Mileena's bio. Pretty standard Kitana stuff. She is always the princess of Outworld, although this whole thing is different, that Mileena is going to be the rightful heir to Outworld. And I think it's interesting that it says Outworld. Usually it's Edenia, and of course in, I forgot which Mortal Kombat game it is, someone let me know, but usually Edenia is its own realm, Outworld is a different realm. But because of Shao Kahn, who, you know, now rules Outworld, he merges and becomes victorious over Edenia through Mortal Kombat. He becomes the new emperor to technically both realms, but it's now just one realm as Outworld. He becomes a new ruler, and he takes Sindel, which is the Edenian queen, as his wife, which is Kitana's mother. That's how she becomes kind of associated with Outworld, so on and so forth. Now, I think the biggest plot point that is going to be pretty interesting to explore is the fact that she is the ruler of Outworld and not just Edenia, which means that Outworld and Edenia are likely either joined forces, or already it just means that Kitana is now Outworld and has nothing to do with Edenia, which is going to be pretty interesting to see, because the son of Argus, which is basically the Raiden of Edenia, you know how Raiden is the, or I guess in this timeline, Liu Kang is Earthrealm's protector and the god of the realm. Argus is the god of the realm for Edenia. His son, Rain, is also in this timeline. However, there's a lot of different, you know, plot points to his character, which we'll get to in a second. 21st century action hero, the fan favorite, Johnny Cage. Like many stars before him, Johnny became addicted to his fame. He became to measure his self-worth by his fans' adoration and their praise of him on social media. Johnny is fighting an uphill battle to remain relevant. He joins Liu Kang's Earthrealm champions, hoping that it will provide his career and his fame a desperately needed boost. Pretty standard Johnny Cage stuff. I think this is going to be a pretty good plot point. Love his new design. I think they went with a little more, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme-esque build to him, so I do think it's really good. I love his new design. Let's keep moving forward. Next off, we have Kenshi Takahashi, restorer of his family's name. Returning Kenshi, one of the fan favorites. I'm so happy he's returning. Once one of ancient Japan's most honored families, the Takahashis were decimated in battle. They lost everything, including the emblem of their power, the revered sword Sento. Those who survived joined the Bakuto, predecessor of the Yakuza, for its protection. 5 centuries later, Kenshi is raised on the stories of his ancient family's exploits. Detesting his corrupt Yakuza life, he pins to free the Takahashis from Yakuza's grasp and restore their name. But for his family to follow him, Kenshi must first fight to prove that he can lead. His first battle is to find and retrieve Sento. Now, judging from the first official trailer for Mortal Kombat 1 story, it seems that Sento, the actual katana itself, is in Johnny Cage's possession. It's in his home, and it's going to start off with Kenshi, you know, going to Johnny Cage's home, fighting for the sword, and it looks like they're going to be recruited from that point on into the Mortal Kombat tournament via Liu Kang and the rest of his already formed squad. Probably the most interesting change, obviously, is going to be Kung Lao, youthful warrior with dreams of glory. Now, in the past timeline, Kung Lao was kind of always jealous of Liu Kang for being the #1 Earthrealm champion. And at that point, you know, Kung Lao eventually becomes jealous enough to try to thwart Liu Kang's plans in Mortal Kombat 11. Kind of spoiler alert. It's been out for a couple years, you know. But I think, you know, I wonder how Liu Kang feels about that. Rewriting history. What kind of place will he put Kung Lao in now that Liu Kang has become the fire god and Raiden is now the new Earthrealm champion? Born and raised in the village of Fengjian, Kung Lao has spent his life toiling in the fields. It has been an honorable life, if not a glorious one. Kung Lao's greatest fear is that his life will amount to nothing. He prays fervently that he will be called to do something bigger. His prayers are answered when he's asked to join the champions of Earthrealm. As a warrior fighting for his honor, Kung Lao knows that his victories will be long remembered. I think it's pretty interesting to note that the it's more of like a mantle, but I guess it's just the name passed down from one generation to another. The Kung Lao title has always been passed down. There has been multiple Kung Laos in history in just one timeline, right? Kung Lao was a long remembered ancestor of the one we know, the Kung Lao we know, and you know, he did a lot of great things. I forgot exactly what his feats were, but eventually in the new modern era, Kung Lao takes up that mantle again in hopes to kind of live up to his ancestor Kung Lao's name. Now, I think it's interesting. It does not mention anything about the ancestor Kung Lao, which means I think this character might actually be the first Kung Lao in his history, which is going to be pretty interesting. I think that's going to be a pretty big change, which means that Kung Lao isn't exactly you know, fighting to live up to his ancestor's name. He's going to be making a new legacy of his own. If he is the first Kung Lao, he may be remembered. Honestly, I'm gonna throw it out there. I think Kung Lao might die in this game, you know, and I think a new Kung Lao will be birthed, if not taken up, and hopes to live up to the legacy of Kung Lao, this specific Kung Lao. That's just a theory, a game theory. Continuing on, we have heir to Outworld's throne, Mileena. Born mere seconds ahead of her twin sister, Mileena is the rightful heir to Outworld's throne, but even so, there are those who distrust Mileena's impulsiveness. They whisper that Kitana, with her steadier hand, should replace Mileena as heir to the throne. As Mileena's fight for legitimacy, she hides a horrible secret. She is infected with the dreaded and lethal Tarkat disease, which is named after the Tarkatans, which is the race of Baraka and his people, which, I mean, judging by this, I don't think exist in this new timeline. It's going to be pretty interesting. Maybe there is like a tribe of people who embrace the Tarkat disease and kind of, you know, live with it, which is the reason the Tarkatans may exist in this timeline. But of course, with this being a pretty central change, there's a chance that Tarkatans don't even exist at all in this new timeline. Where her affliction found out, Mileena could be forced into battle to save her throne. This is gonna be pretty interesting. I'm gonna love to see how this dynamic between Mileena and Kitana plays out. It does seem that Mileena kind of has a feeling, or she's kind of scared and paranoid that Kitana's ulterior motives are actually to take the throne for herself. I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think Kitana literally just wants to help her sister. But I think Mileena's, you know, paranoia is going to be the downfall of her. Raiden, my boy. In the village of Fengjian, which is also where Kung Lao is from, Raiden was known for his kindness and his charity. We're seeing that dynamic already with Kung Lao being kind of like the person who's always jealous of the champion. You guys can see they're born in the same village. Happy to spend his days tending to the fields as well as to his friends and family. So when he's asked to leave Fengjian and become one of Earthrealm's champions, Raiden hesitates. But he soon realizes that to best serve his village, he must join them. As threats to Earthrealm mount, Raiden must mature into the great warrior that Liu Kang knows he can be. Now, I love this change. Obviously, as far as designs go, this is the biggest far cry from the original plot point. I love how in this new timeline, he kind of, I don't know how this is gonna work. He is the champion though. I'm assuming he kind of just right off the bat writes Raiden to be the new Earthrealm protector, which is gonna be pretty cool. I love how he's the new champion. It'd be really nice. I wonder if ever Liu Kang will return his powers back to Raiden and Raiden will become the new one, and you know, it's just gonna be a big circle. That'd be pretty cool. But I do hope that Liu Kang holds his god status for, you know, for a while. I'm gonna love to see how this new timeline goes, and of course this design is amazing. High Mage of Outworld, probably like my most, you know, high hoped character for this new game. I really can't wait to see what they're gonna do with Rain. I love his character. He's always just really cool. Let's take a look. As a student at Outworld's exclusive Imperial Academy of Sorcery, Rain amazes peers with a singular aptitude for water magic. Having honed his craft of water magic into a fierce weapon, he now hopes to learn the realm's darkest and most powerful sorcery. So he's kind of gonna be a villain at this point. I think it's pretty important to note that it does say High Mage of Outworld as opposed to Edenia. Of course, his father is like the Raiden of Edenia, the high god, the protector god, Argus. In the normal timeline, Rain is usually the son of Argus, and technically a demigod. At that point, he is the demigod of water. He's always usually really powerful. And in this timeline, it looks like he's the Outworld sorcerer student, right? So, I mean, either that means Outworld and Edenia are already merged at this point, or perhaps Adenia doesn't even exist, which is gonna be a crazy point, right? And, you know, Kitana, Mileena, Sindel, Shao Kahn, Rain always have kind of like a big plot point with Adenia, if not directly related to it. So seeing how it's gonna be changed, this is gonna be pretty big, y'all. This is gonna be a huge change. And of course, Jade. I think Tanya is going to be returning, which is also an Adenian warrior. So this is gonna be pretty big. And last but not least, I also want to point out, right, before we even get into it, people like Liu Kang are returning as voice actors, but I didn't even know this. Scorpion is going to be voice acted by Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima, which is one of the best casting I've ever seen in any video game ever. I'm so excited for that. He's such a great voice actor. And Yuri Lowenthal, aka PS4 Spider-Man, is going to be the voice of Smoke. Just wanted to throw that in there. I haven't been able to say that in any of the other Mortal Kombat videos I made because I keep forgetting. This is gonna be a pretty interesting change. I love this casting. As a boy, Smoke lived to hunt with his family. Their final hunt, however, ended in tragedy. Having accidentally trespassed on Lin Kuei lands, they were attacked. Smoke was orphaned. Right off the bat, his family was killed by Lin Kuei. Who does that sound like, y'all? Who does that sound like? That sounds like Scorpion. That sounds like Hanzo Hasashi. This is gonna be pretty interesting. Ashamed by Warrior's actions, the Lin Kuei's Grandmaster adopted Smoke. He raised him alongside his sons Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So it doesn't even say who the Grandmaster is. Maybe that's gonna be like pretty vital to the story, so they don't want to, you know, spoil it or anything. But this is gonna be pretty interesting right off the bat. Eventually, Smoke chose to make the Lin Kuei's mission his own, but as he lacked his brother's innate supernatural abilities, he set out to master practical magic. Having done so, he now joins them in Earthrealm's defense. Like I said, I think this is going to be Hanzo Hasashi. I think it doesn't mention, right, but it does say that his family trespassed on a Lin Kuei lands. I think maybe that could be Shirai Ryu. I think he originally comes from Shirai Ryu in the storyline. I think they're not going to write out that clan. Shirai Ryu is going to exist in some way, shape, or form. I think this is going to be Hanzo Hasashi. And obviously his family being killed by Lin Kuei is going to be a big central point into kind of finding out who Smoke is going to be leading up to the release of Mortal Kombat 1. That is it for today, y'all. I wanted to take a look at all these characters. Let me know, who do you think is going to be the most interesting change? As far as the backstory of these characters, I think all of them undergoing like a pretty big change, right? Liu Kang probably being like the least amount of change, just because we have already seen him as the fire god in a previous title, so he is the reason that everything is different. It'd be pretty interesting to see. One thing that I do want to know that I think is really interesting, at the end of Mortal Kombat 11, and I don't remember the Aftermath DLC, so I'm gonna have to go back and play that, but at the end of it, Liu Kang decides that he wants to rule all of, you know, time, I guess, with Kitana. He realizes that he wants to spend eternity with Kitana as like his right hand companion for the rest of time in rewriting this new history. So I wonder how that's gonna play. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go replay Aftermath. I forgot what happens at the end of it, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. Have a great day, y'all. Stay safe, take care, peace, adios, and of course, until next time, bye bye, y'all.